On a dark night on the horizon above ancient ruins, a roar echoed through the empty streets of the city. At first, no one paid attention to it. It could have just been a storm. But by the next morning, a strange, pulsating vortex hovered over the horizon. It shimmered with dark blue and violet hues, slowly expanding. Scientists and military forces immediately began investigations, but no one could understand its nature. Several days passed before the first creatures emerged from the vortex. Ancient legends from myths of various peoples suddenly came to life. Old stories of gods, demons, and monsters used to frighten children before bed were becoming reality. At first, small but terrifying creatures appeared: werewolves, goblins, and minor demons. It was as if they were testing the world, probing if humanity was ready for something much more dreadful. Scientists quickly realized this was a rift between dimensions. Such rifts had opened before in the distant past. It was through these rifts that mythological beings had appeared in ancient times, beings that humans had eventually come to regard as gods or demons. However, these rifts were unstable. They quickly collapsed, preventing the creatures from truly taking over the world. People started building temples and magical barriers without realizing the true reason behind their construction. The entire history of humanity was a history of fighting creatures from another dimension that, time and time again, attempted to conquer Earth. However, back then, they lacked stability. But this time, everything changed. The rift continued to expand. With each passing day, more powerful beings emerged from it. Dragons, titans, ancient deities capable of leveling entire cities with a single gesture. They didn't just want to destroy humanity, they wanted to subjugate it. The planet's military forces were powerless in the face of such might. Modern weapons were ineffective against the magic and ancient power these creatures carried with them. Panic spread across the world. The governments of the largest countries joined forces, but it turned out that ancient manuscripts and artifacts, which were once considered myths, contained the keys to salvation. One of the leading scientists, Professor Johnson, conducted a study of ancient texts. He discovered that the rifts were not random. They followed a specific cycle related to the alignment of stars and Earth's magical energy flows. But the most important discovery was that humanity had always been part of a grand plan of subjugation. Mythical beings from another world had long sought to enslave humans. However, in the past, their attempts had failed due to the instability of the rifts. Now that the portal was stable, they intended to complete their plan. Humanity had never been truly free. Each time a rift opened, these creatures influenced the development of civilization, pushing people toward conflicts, wars, and destruction. The moment of truth had come. Johnson realized that the rift could not be closed by conventional means. It required the use of ancient magical rituals that could temporarily weaken the flow of energy between worlds. He gathered a team of the best mages, historians, and military strategists. Their last hope was to find the key to destroying the portal in ancient ruins, once thought to be temples. However, time was against them. The rift continued to grow, and the monsters became stronger. Humanity faced a choice: fight to the end or surrender to a new reality where they would no longer be masters of their planet. The history of humanity was now intertwined with the history of myths, and the fate of the world depended on their choice. The continuation of this battle promised to be brutal and fateful. One day, the scientist Johnson and his team worked tirelessly, trying to understand how to close the rift that was slowly destroying their world. They studied ancient texts and artifacts, hoping to find the key to salvation. With each passing day, more dangerous creatures emerged from the rift, and humanity was inching closer to its doom. Johnson finally stumbled upon an ancient scroll that, in his opinion, contained the necessary spell. This ritual was supposed to close the rift and save the world from the invasion of mythical creatures forever. However, the scroll contained one warning, written in barely discernible text: "The seal of dawn must not be broken, or the end of everything will become reality." In his haste and desperation, Johnson didn't take the time to fully decipher the warning. In their situation, it seemed they had no choice but to perform the ritual. The team gathered before the enormous rift under the night sky. The spell began to take effect, and the rift started to close, but suddenly, everything went wrong. When Johnson spoke the final words, the ground trembled, and the rift disappeared, but not entirely. In the next moment, the skies tore open, and from the abyss emerged a colossal silhouette, an ancient entity, older than all myths and legends, a creature beyond any description. Johnson realized his mistake too late. Instead of closing the rift, he had opened a path for a force that would bring not only the end of humanity, but the end of all existence. The entity began to consume everything around it, spreading chaos and destruction. The monsters that had previously emerged from the rift fled in fear before this incomprehensible force. Humanity was powerless against this new threat. Technology and magic were useless. The end was inevitable. Johnson stood on the edge of the ruins, realizing that his desperate attempt to save the world had caused its destruction. He had summoned a force that obliterated everything they had fought to protect. It was the end of their world, but not the end of the entity Johnson had summoned. It continued its journey through endless dimensions, consuming world after world, opening new rifts time and time again, until one day it would find the next world to destroy.